What's up, honey love? What's up, girl? What's up, love, honey love? I see you. What you doing, real Sonya? What's up, Sonya? Fat Mama Sonya. What's up, Fat Mama Sonya? What's up, Fat Mama Sonya? What's up, Mayday? Lord Mayday. What's up, boy? What's up, Lord Mayday? What's up, my boy Doc? What you say, Doc? What you say, Doc? What you say, Doc? It's my big boy, Doc. What you say? All right, y'all. Today we have a very special episode of Game Dog Talk. This is a great interview that I've been waiting to do for a while now. And of course, we have in the building the legendary Going Hard Kennels, Twin 1 and 2 in the building. Twin 1, Mike, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, General. How you doing, sir? Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank y'all for joining me, man. Twin 2, how you doing, brother Mo?
All day, bro. What's up, man? Thank you for having us on there, General.
Hey, man, it's an honor and a pleasure to talk to two seasoned dog men like yourselves. And can't wait to hear some of these stories, man, that y'all got, man. So, first things first, Going Hard Kennels has a YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link to that channel in the description underneath this video so y'all can go check them out and subscribe. Make sure y'all go support the brother's channel. All right. First question, man. Introduce yourself to the people. I can start with Mike first. Introduce yourself to the people. Let everybody know who is Going Hard Kennels.
Hey, man, look, this is Twin 1. You know, they always call me. I'm the second of the, part of the kennel, and I'm also the producer of the Going Hard Reloaded talk show. Guess we've been in dogs for a lot of years. We've seen a lot and had a lot of fun. I'm more like the business side of the kennel situation. Anybody understand the job of a second? I'm that guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Twin 2, brother Mo, tell the people who is Going Hard Kennels.
Going Hard Kennels is it's a three-headed dragon. There's one of the heads, he's a sleeper. But, all these dogs that we came to pass came through that sleeping head. Me and my twin, we reward the fruits because we put in the work. But the combination was actually built by, my silent partner. Who every dog he ever gave me, we won. So I would have to say, Going Hard Kennels is just that. We came in wanting to go hard and put the kennel name on it and put the dogs with it. I am I guess what you would call the brains and the hunter of the kennel.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. And let me ask you, how did you brothers get into the dogs? Either one of y'all can take that. How did y'all get into the dogs?
Well, I would have to say it started with me because I was a dog trainer. I'm a Marine and I was a dog trainer. So I was walking through the streets of Kinston, North Carolina, and I was becoming pretty well known because I had Dobermans. I had like 6 Dobermans, and you got me walking. I could walk down the street, and every one of my Dobermans carried some type of pistol in their collars, but they were all trained. I had them on both sides, so I guess it became popular. Sheriff pulled up on me one day, and he was like, "Man, you see you pretty good with the dogs. Let me hook up with you." So I hooked up with the sheriff one Saturday, and he started talking about pit bulls. And I told him I was from up north. He was in Pittsburgh. Once he knew I was from Akron, Ohio, he literally just took me in. And the first place he ever took me was to these white guys' house. And these guys was Atlas Brewer and James Edwards. And the guys, this was in the 80s. This was like in 80, 81. I mean, Snooty was around. I seen him on the yard. I seen Atlas. I was on Atlas Yard, and this is when I met James Edwards. James Edwards, Grand Checker, Molly B. That Edwards. That was Red Lady. This poor heart Red. All these guys. Now, keep in mind, guys, I was getting dogs from these two guys, all because of this sheriff. Took me over to their house. You know, I mean, I had a dog up for Low Posse's Busters, bred to Low Posse's Queen. James Edwards cut her ears for me. And all these dogs had ADVA papers. Now, during these conversations, guys, I still remember I got some nice bulldogs. I had sons and daughters right coming off the Red Lady, who was off the Snooty and Molly B. And we compared back to Snooty. I had a two-time winner judo. He got stolen, but he was off of that line, that breed, actually. He was one of those dogs. So, but I didn't know nothing about dogs. All we knew is when we wanted to play with our dogs, you know, they say a weight, and we don't even have a weight. We just bring the dog. What's our dog weigh? Okay, we go over it. And, you know, they didn't ever tell us nothing about conditioning. I seen a conditioned dog when I was at Atlas Yard. And he kept his dog like in a shed. And he took this dog out this shed, and this dog was so pretty and muscled up. He had that big old nice harness, collar on his neck, looking good and formed up. And I was like, damn, that's what made me fall in love with those pits. That dog right there.
Right.
And he said that was a son of Snooty he was getting ready to take out. Now, that might have been Champion Thor, y'all, because at the time he gave me another dog named Bruiser, was off the Smeller. The Smeller had a little brother that he said was going for his championship. So that would have had to been Thor. That he was getting ready. But in the end, when we left North Carolina and moved back to Ohio, I went back to Ohio with those dogs. You know, I'm from Akron, Ohio. So when I got back at home, you know, I just knew a guy named, you know, I didn't actually know him at first. It's just one of my friends said that, you know, there's a guy that got some pit bulls right here named James Pope. And he told me how to catch up when I go to see this guy named James Pope. I showed James Pope my papers, and he was like, I didn't know how to read them anyway. And he was like, he was so impressed. He was like, you know, so you telling me you was down there with these guys? I said, this is where all these dogs come from. That's where they come from. And I said, I haven't seen that dog you got in your backyard, but you show me your dog. That dog was on Atlas Brewer's yard. That's when he knew I wasn't bullshit. Because that's exactly where he got it. His dog had one blue eye, and this guy had it. And then from that point on, he taught me about papers, told me how important the James Edwards and Kenzie Woods and Atlas Brewer and who Snooty and them was. So, you know, I became basically obsessed because my growth from, I had the right dog, but I didn't have any knowledge from or any type of information coming out of, you know, the Carolinas. Not until I got back up north where the dog men were. You know, I would have to say closer to my kind because that's where it started working out for me. I took that dog, that first time out with judo, he was the Snooty Molly B dog. First time I took him out, this is how I take him out. Dude said he got a 46-pound dog. Okay, guess what? I'm going to run home, put judo on the scale, judo 46. We're going to go do this. 6 weeks later, all we doing is trying to make sure judo at 46, y'all. I mean, I used to run him outside the car, you know, with a leash, but not knowing what I'm doing, I'm just running him a couple feet, you know what I mean? His feet is hurting, let me take him home. As long as I stay at 46, we cool. I go in there, in 30 minutes, he's smashing this dog, but everybody looking like, man, what is this shit? They thinking like, you know, we being taken advantage of. Because we don't know. But most of the guys there was like, man, you taking advantage of these dudes. You know, that dog is not no 46 pounds, and that's when I met Ohio Cash. The old dog, man, he brought me in and said, man, them dogs, you don't know how to shape a dog. You don't know what you got to put a dog in shape. You know the key is. I was like, I ain't know none of that. All I knew about some pedigrees, that's what Pope was telling me. That's what I was obsessed on. So I learned my pedigree. I was down pat, but now I'm trying to, you know, do something. And I mess around, I had to pick my dog up because he on this big ass dog. And my dog then got all tired and wore out because, you know, he wasn't in no type of shape. But I didn't know no better. But guess what, guys? After talking to Ohio Cash, he gave me a piece of the key. But in the process of him giving me all this, man, I guess the guy started, you know, really adjusting to me and my twin. You know, because back then, you know, we were young and we kept finding girls around. So I guess that was one of our attractions to start bringing a lot of dog men into the scene. You know what I mean? Because a lot of guys was opening up to it. Next time I bought Judo out, we won in like less than 20 minutes. Next time I went out, I went up to a dog off of RC and Sosa Boys. I think the dog name was Jughead. He was 2-time winner going for his championship. And we knocked him off with judo. And he did that in less than 30 minutes. Now, during that time, you know, never got a chance to breed him. You know, had another dog. We had Blood. He was another one-time winner. We ended up doing that one night and ended up messing up Blood, putting judo and them two on together. Another lesson we learned, putting our match dogs on each other. You know, we want to know which one was better than the other one. And judo ended up messing up the one-time winner, which was really his half brother. He was off of Powell's Levi, who was off of Snooty, and Miss Poolhall Red to Red Lady. Champion Red Lady. Might have been Champion Edwards. Might have been Edwards Dusty. That's who he was off of. Levi Bred Edwards Dusty. But yeah, messed him up. But now we had the little low posse buster female that Atlas had cut her ears. She was one of the most ruthless dogs, y'all. Remember, she's out of low posse's buster and low posse's queen. Do you know how many great dogs came out of that litter? And what I do, I did her one time. She was a one-time winner. I took her one night and tied her, you know, I had a basement. I'm up in Ohio. So I took her down in the basement, but I tied her leash to the, you know, to the step. You know, not to the step, but, you know, to the little...
The rail.
The rail. Guys, I get up that morning, come down, man. I see my dog hanging. How did this dog fall through the step and hung herself? A low posse buster, low posse queen bitch. I mean, I had some of the best. I came into the game with some of the greatest bred dogs, guys, and didn't know nothing about them. Had no idea. It was until I started growing and learning who these people and who these dogs were. But the whole time now, I'm grabbing them, I'm putting them down. I ran into Mill Buster through my silent partner, and he gave me a dog from Mill Buster. I think it was up at Damascus, and badass dog. Again, I'm back on the road again. All I'm wanting to do is go play. I'm back on the road. I run into my first big show. I am already won 3 matches, but this is my first one going into what I thought was the fast lane, and that was going into the Legion of Doom on a big card too. I was on a big card, and the person I'm going into is the Legion of Doom. What to me, okay, I'm shaking in my boots, but I'm also a Marine, you know, and I think I was more excited and shaking in my boots because I'm ready to go kick their ass. You know, I'm like a pit. No, I ain't got butterflies because I'm worried about who they is. I got butterflies because I know I'm going to go in here and kick their ass. That ain't shit to me. I'm going in here and get this shit. And guess what? I went in there and got that shit. I went in there and beat a dog and you know, God rest my man's soul, the man who I had the privilege of going into years later. He came back and me and him crossed paths. I mean, I don't know where he just actually somebody knew me and knew where I was at, and he was always telling this story. And he told the story to a guy that knew how to get in touch with me. He gave me a call, and he always said, "Look, man, I watched you guys all through your years coming up through the game." And he said, "You know what? I'm tell you why. Because that dog I had, to me, I thought was going to be the next great dog, the next Luther." He said, and y'all came in there and got that dog. Y'all came in there and we did a with great dog was in great shape. You had a smart game plan and you're gonna be a good dog man. That's what he told me. And it was years later that he was like, I still talk about that night. Man, I had a badass dog and y'all beat me. He said, I knew y'all was gonna go somewhere. And that was the reason to do it.
Yes,
And
sir.
from that point on, man, it didn't matter. I got that hunger and competitiveness. And that's what attracted me to Roadblock. That's what attracted me to the Abrahams. And I guess that attitude about me and I'm cool. But again, I can always say we did have pretty girlfriends too, guys, who was just as bunch of dog girls as we was dog men. That was like really our team.
Yeah, we had
You know,
that same night, we got best in show, and that was like our first big convention. I mean, that was all the right people in that show that night.
yeah.
So that was kind of a big thing for us, starting
That
off.
opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah, that opened up a lot of doors for us.
Wow. Okay. Yes, sir. Now, what would you say your what bloodline did you guys run and why? I'll go with you, going hard, Mike.
Well, again, man, I ain't into the papers and stuff. I can
Right,
just
right,
tell you
right,
about the dogs. So it's one of them situations when I talk about the dogs, I can't really talk about their bloodline because
right,
that's what
right.
Mo did. But when it
Okay.
came down to the dogs, I would say when we first started out, man, that James Edwards shit and that Low Posse's Busters, they beat up a lot of dogs, man. I mean, before we got to Ohio, we was already beating up dogs in North Carolina.
Right.
So I think one of the biggest things that we was learning in that time period was applying a training process to the dogs, those type, pit bulls. Let's try to see if we can teach them to do what we could get the Dobermans to do. So even in that process, we had, again, we're not dealing with gameness and trying to do the other things that came with the dogs. We was always just trying to get the edge to see if we could get the dogs to do like hit the leg or we tell them where to go.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing after using BA and blood and solo, remember that's Low Posse's Busters, that's the snooty stuff that we was out there running at that time period. We even took, and he didn't mention it, but we went into that champion Thor dog with Bruiser.
Yeah.
And
That's the route.
our Bruiser dog beat that dog, ran him out the barn. They went through a wall, the pit wall, knocked it down, and we had to get them from outside and bring them back to the middle. And I think right then, they started telling us, man, y'all got some good dogs. We didn't tell them where we were getting the dogs from because we didn't want to scare people off, but we was actually really taking advantage of the people that we were meeting because of these dogs, not giving them full rundown. So
Right.
when it comes down to the best stuff that we had, and we compared that, we started transitioning because remember the Millbuster dogs came through there and the Rascal dogs came through there and they started beating up and then those the North Carolina dogs. Remember, we put judo on blood, and that was the biggest mistake because we ruined blood. Um, judo got stolen, and then the next thing we come in with Mikey gets stolen. So we have to really revamp everything else. And then from that point on, after dealing with the Rascal stuff, a couple of different other breeds, we got a dog that our third silent partner brought to us named Amber. Uh, she was game. She was she was a loser, but he bought her out the pit. And that female right there is what started the going hard line. And I'll let Mo take it from there because that's really the beginning of a 20-year span of just beating ass.
Yes, sir. Brother Mo,
Yeah.
take it away.
Yeah, they actually picked her up. She's actually gone into a champion, right? And she was off of Bluegrass Kennels, uh, Greg Lester's Wrangler. and she was a pretty good dog, and but she was the champion. She was always gonna put her down. He was like, man, don't let her go out like that. We'll buy her. We'll pay for it. We'll pay out the show. Just pick her up. So that's how we got her. First thing he wanted to do, he wanted to breed her to Ozzie Stevens. That's where he was going. He was going to Ozzie Stevens. And remember, she's already a red boy. She's all yellow John. She had yellow in her, but she was all yellow John. You know how Champion Wrangler is bred. You'll see it's all yellow John. Then the bottom has got a little ace of JOCKO in it. But he wanted to go breed the Homer. So we was headed to Ozzie Stevens' crib. And when we got close to him, we couldn't get him on the line. So we was already out there. We was like all in the journal trying to find, okay, so where we gonna go? What dog do we need to go? The next person that we came up on was Grand Champion Ace, Supernat's Grand Champion Ace. So we gotta go, I guess we gotta go up into these hills of Virginia and go see him. We was already headed to Ozzie, so we just like forget it. So we drove, we caught Supernat on the line, asked him about AC, and you know, we headed to North Carolina, up there to Virginia to Supernat's house. Made the bridge, stayed a weekend. Then we left her there, came back the end of the week to come back and pick her up. And we had some of the damnedest conversations with Supernat. But it all started with Amber when she was bred the Grand Champion Ace. And then I put those puppies there, came Red Ace. It was not a big litter, but I didn't even have those dogs then. Before I actually got Amber after the Ace, we sent her up to New York. And by the time she had those puppies, I was sent back up from Ohio to back up to New York to pick up all the dogs. And Red Ace and Amber came with me. Actually, Red Ace, Amber, and her brother came with me. And her brother, like, you know, he was a man biter. That's what always made me think, you know, either it's the ZEBO or something, because they were all red brindle. Every one of them. But, they was all red brindle, and they was hard mouth, and they looked like Ace. They didn't look to me. They didn't look like a Jeep dog. And keep in mind, at that time, y'all, I had triple bred Jeep bitch on the yard. Her name would be Goldie. Yep, her name was Goldie. She was right off the Jeep 3 times. So she had 3 legs. So she had the Jeep ears, but she more or less had the airplane ears like Angus. And we always had that conversation when Supernat made a comment that, I had, when AC was young, I had Angus on the yard when I had Charlie. So Charlie and Angus was on the yard at the same time. And I always wonder why he said that. Because he said that actually Ace was not directly off of Angus, he was off of Angus's son. Angus had a champion son. And he said that, he made the comment like all we wanted to know was that dog off of Angus or was it off of Charlie? Because we didn't have no red and white dogs in that breeding. And the bottom side was Tommy Spider, so we didn't have none of that red and white. We had all red brindle dogs. That's what the whole litter was. And we just went from there. From that breeding, we went to Grand Champion Ace, and the only reason we ran into from Ace to Ace, we ran into Mayday because we were going to take Amber. We already got puppies off of Amber and Ace. Now we're going to go get these puppies off of Angels Apache. So we're going up to breed the Angels Apache, and while we're up there breeding the Amber to Angels Apache, we run into Mayday. I saw Mayday, I saw Choice, and I saw Dolly. And Angel Apache. That's the 3 dogs that was up there. Got a chance to see Mayday win 3. Yeah, because I know 3 and 4 was 4-timers, and he got Mayday. Mayday took out both of those. So I used to have a video, y'all, of me walking Mayday down the street. Now Choice, Mayday had just won, and Choice had just won, and I think they were going to do something with Dolly. I think Dolly was going to get bred to Hollywood Bull at the time because while I was there, he was talking to Carl Cruz. So I know that that morning we was roll out to the airport, and we know that that's where Dolly was getting ready to go. But the breeding that I made to Angel's Apache with Amber, it didn't take. So, if you know how Angel is, nice, quiet, laid back, I didn't want to cheat her, make sure that I wasn't cheating. I took my dog to the vet, had my dog tested because she swelled up like she was going to have puppies, but it was a false pregnancy, wasn't nothing in there. I sent the records up there to them, now y'all owe me a breeding. But just as much as I had to go and prove that my dog wasn't pregnant, now y'all owe me, I'm going to tell you what I want. I want to breed my dog Red Ace to Mayday. Now I don't want to mess with Apache. I'm gonna take my money. I want y'all to put it on Mayday. They had no problem with it. That's how I got a chance to breed the Mayday, and that's where the breeding came from. From that breeding came came Champion Ace, and Brat, and then we had Little Mayday. It was Champion the Brat, and then it was her Little Mayday. I sent Champion the Brat, and she had a Little May sister, looked just like Grand Champion Ace because she was that dark brindle color. And I sent both of them to Newport, Virginia, and I kept Little Mayday there. And the reason why I kept the male is because these dogs grew up hot. They was already on. These weren't no big Mayday looking dogs. They didn't even look like Mayday. They looked like Amber. They looked like Ace dogs. But the thing about it, they had this look. I can tell you what I saw when I saw Mayday win number 3. I saw a dog hit Mayday in the chest, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And when he hit him in his chest, he hit him in the chest and made him go, yay! Okay? This is what I saw. And when you made that motherfucker go, yay! It was total destruction. And this was a 4-time winner he was on. Not that I seen him do it on his third, I seen him do it for the same thing. You had to bite him hard. You just, they had this craziness. Then I seen that look in my own dog. I seen it in Brat. I seen a Little Mayday. They was like 12 months old, and I put Little Mayday and Brat together. Come up from Norfolk, the Little Mayday sister, she had caught parvo. She got sick. By the time she got back, she died, and I ain't got but 2 dogs, Brat and Little Mayday. I got Brat and Little Mayday one day. I'm up to goof around the guys. Let's go put them 2 together. Man, I put them 2 crazy fools together. And it was a hell of a damn little show, too. And the next thing you know it, Brat was getting up in his ass, and he just decided, I'm going to stop shit. Grabbed on that leg and he just snapped it. Crack. Broke like he crunched down, and both the parts on her leg just broke. So everybody thought they were gonna be the end of their career and shit. I was like, I bet you I'll put this bitch out here both leg and all. Cause the way she was handling that male, and he was bigger than her. But again, this is how I had Brat. Remember, I didn't have a bunch of dogs no more. I had a dog I had second Little May brother. I guess the guy didn't like the fact that I had second Little May brother because we got these dogs for super cheap. They pay a whole bunch for Grand Champion Satan. Grand Champion Satan was a $350 dog. I paid $300 for his brother. And these dogs turned out to be some badass dogs. Actually came down from the Legion of Doom dogs. But Satan was a $350 dog. He probably would have been a better dog if he had a better owner with a better conditioning. But he still won a Grand Championship. And the dog also won the Grand Championship in the All-Stiff competition. Every one of his matches, I know we did it in 5 states, and every single one of them was by 1. So he was a better dog than the person that had. So for him to be able to do that, he was definitely a great dog. Right. But in the end, his Little May brother got poisoned. And then here's the wild thing about it. I showed the dude where he was. I didn't keep him on the yard where all the other my other dog was, Brat and Little Mayday. He wasn't on the yard with them. I don't know, something just made me after seeing Mikey get stolen. and Judo getting stolen. You know, Mayday wasn't no name, so there wasn't nobody worried about the Mayday dogs. You know what I mean? Didn't nobody even know who Mayday was yet. But that Timex dog I had, Satan's brother, oh yeah, they knew about him. And so since the boy he got the dog, he got the brother, me and him went and got these dogs together, you know, I let me see the dog. But you know, in the win, fellas, I never knew that dude was hating. He didn't want me to have that dog because we took Little Mayday one time and put Little Mayday on one of those dogs, man, and around before a big show, and you know, during a big show, we up here looking at young dogs, and my dog, my little Mayday dog, come up in there and shocked the house. So there was like, I guess, you know, I don't know, animosity in the air about it because as soon as I showed that dog where that dude, my boy, where that dog was, the next day I came out there, he was poisoned. So that taught me a lesson, you know. I don't know what the animosity was, you know. I lost Satan, but I didn't. I mean, I lost Timex, but I never stopped standing behind Satan, even though I know that he had everything to do with it. You know, it was still a dog. You know, my love for the dog started growing because now look, guys, I'm getting dogs stolen, and I'm still doing it. I'm still getting dogs stolen. I take and put Little Mayday up just to get Pretty Mouth. I went up there. This is how I met Storm and Norman. I met Storm and Norman. Now I'm moving, and I'm trying to get out of. I'm trying to move from where I'm at. So I'm going to take my dogs, and I'm going to go to Florida. But I can't take all the dogs. I got a German Shepherd. I got Brat and Little Mayday. Can you imagine trying to put a guard dog with two crazy vicious bulldogs in a car trying to drive to Florida from Akron, Ohio? I said I'd rather take the chance and just take Little Mayday up to Saginaw. It was over there by past Saginaw. It was over there by Storm and Norman. I told him I would bring Brat's brother and I would take Little Mayday out and he can keep them. And then I had bred and got. It was another dog. Yeah, I had three bitches. I had a bitch. I bred her up to. She was at Hooker Red bitch. And I bred Little Mayday to her, and she was gonna have puppies. She hadn't had much. She had them up there, Storm and Norman. But to make a long story short, I seen this REDBOY bitch he had. And it was off his dog Whistler. Now Whistler was a 3-time winner, 3-time loser, but all 3 losses he was game. And he had this triple red bitch. When I looked at her pedigree, she had all REDBOY. But when you get right in that back end, you seen ZEBO, you seen Grand Champion Heart, and I seen her go on a male. And I told him, I said, man, I'll let you keep Little Mayday if you let me take Pretty Mama and her and Brat and take them out. And I said, when I'm done with her, you know, I'll bring her back and, you know, I'll take Little Mayday. Well, I stuck to my deal because I went on to make Brat and Pretty Mama both champions because they, in each one of their shows, they were both always on the same card. And we did them always on a show. But when it came for me to go take her back, and I sent my silent partner up to go get her, he said he got up there to go get Little Mayday. And he said it's like all the dogs were there, but then when you look at the ground, it looked like somebody just came out there and took him off the chain. And but Norm said he was stolen. Well, that's why I ended up keeping Champion Pretty Much. You know, Little Mayday came up missing, but thank God he had them puppies had a male and a female, only 2 puppies. And out of those 2 puppies, y'all, there was the line of dogs that came out of them, you know, between these 2 puppies. Sassy Girl was one, the mother of the baby, and then you got Menace. He's the other one, the dog that has a lot to do with when they crossed it back into Mayday. You know, that's Brat and Little Mayday. Back in the one, they created the dogs that a lot of good kennels that are made as the going hard dogs. Those dogs is crossed between Little Mayday and Brat, brother and sister breed. But they were never bred together personally, but through the line and crosses, when we put that together, it made a real solid line.
That's what's up. That's what's up. What would you say was your favorite dog? I got a little feedback coming from you. What would you say was your
What would
favorite
you say
dog
was your favorite dog
and why?
and why? I would have to say, I wouldn't say I have favorites, but I can say one of my baddest dogs, what everybody would think it would be the Brat and Buck Rogers and them dogs. No, I would still say the baddest one was Red Ace. Red Ace, Brat's mother. Brat's mother was one, to me, I've seen great, I've seen Queen, okay? And this is the kind of, and when I go and take a dog and go into a 4-time winner and have to get on a plane and fly to Puerto Rico, that's how confident I am. My dog ain't never been out. I done picked up 2 forfeits off of this dog, and now I'm going to fly to Puerto Rico for my first time out there, guys. And I'm going into this 4-time winner that ain't never been past 22 minutes. But I don't care. I'm going to go to Puerto Rico. Now, you honestly believe that I took that trip to go into that venture, not feeling like I had all the confidence in the world. You know, when I got there, I lost some of my dogs. I mean, when I got there, my dog was not the same dog. She wouldn't even come out the crate. But guess what? I didn't care. You know, I figured like this. The next day, it was time to go. You know, the traveling thing was all mixed up. You know, everybody said, you got to leave way ahead of time. Well, I did. I was going on Saturday, and I was driving all night from Akron, Ohio to New York to catch the Friday morning flight to go to Puerto Rico. And I think that was like a couple, like 10, 16 hours or something in the air. And by the time we get there, you know, I go down the next day, Saturday. Man, when I get to San Juan, my dog won't even come out the cage, and she didn't like cages. You know, I don't know what happened down there in the cockpit with her, but she was like spooked. She didn't want to come out the cage. I couldn't get her out of it. You know, I mean, all now I'm dealing with Saturday, Friday night, and you know, I go Saturday the next day that night. So I'm taking her around over there on Stone City Yard. You know, we going over there. Miranda dude that had Grand Champion Onyx, we around his little spot trying to get this dog fired up, and she just wasn't having it. She was like on cold dead. But you know what? It was time for us to go, and I just said, you know, I ain't coming all the way over here for that. I hope by the time I get there, because she gonna figure it out once she get hit. That's what I said. You know, every right intention. If I could, you know, they wanted to postpone it. It was like, man, you need to postpone it, dude. You know, maybe she ain't ready. I wouldn't be doing that if I was you. You know she's going into Tommy. Tommy's killing shit. You know, that bitch going there with that shit there, Tommy gonna kill her. You know? They're like, you just wait and give her some time. Maybe she'll come back out of it. Or I would pay the forfeit. Okay, but no, I'm doing this shit. And that's what I did. I did it. Right off the back, just like they said, my dog didn't do nothing. Tommy came right in there and pounded her ass. This is Red Ace now, Bat's mom. And she pounded her for like good 5 minutes. And Red Ace ain't doing nothing but hollering. She's not trying to do nothing. If she probably could have got loose, she probably would have jumped the box. But Tommy was one of these very skillful killers. You know what I'm saying? And Tommy just so happened to start biting her in the places that made Tommy famous. And when she made Red Ace holler, because up to that point, Red Ace wasn't hollering, she was yapping, like, you know, trying to, no, I ain't trying to do nothing. And she made Red Ace holler. I said, well, if you don't like what she's doing, get her out of there. And when I said that to her, something kicked in that bitch. I guess she went and was forced to go into survival mode now. Because I'm telling you, by 20 minutes, y'all, we were standing over a down dog. The referee count on an out of hole count. And guess who out of hole? My dog. Guess what Tommy is? Down dog. That's why I came over here with this bitch.
Right.
If I could have walked through the door with that bitch on, this is what you would have seen 5 minutes into the match. I would have seen the very same shit I just showed you when this bitch didn't even want to do shit. This co-ass bitch did this to a 4-time winner in like what, 10 minutes? And now we standing here with an out of hole count. Not once, twice. But thank God I had already better than Mayday.
Right.
That's all I can say. Grand champion Ace became a grand champion because on that auto hold count, down dogs go. You know the down dog got to go, right? Tommy made a grand champion scratch. If you got anybody got a sporting dog journal out there with Tommy Boy on the cover, you're gonna see that there's only one dog that Jack Kelly said he ever put in the journal. It was with a cover dog that he had the losing dog's name in it, and it was Red Ace.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying? The only dog. He said I had to put her on there because I heard about her match. But this was a great dog. Tommy was bred good. Caribbean Kennels, Tommy Boy. She made the cover. But Red Ace was everything Grand Champion Ace was. She was a champion killer. That was the second champion we went after. The first champion paid the forfeit. So now we going after that 4-time winner. And maybe if I hadn't never traveled, I'd have had the success to show y'all what a killer looked like in a female. I'm gonna tell you, I think she was every bit like Queen. I think she was every bit like Shady Lady. I just think that when I brought her in, I traveled wrong, and she set the standard, y'all. I did not leave with Red Ace. You understand what I'm saying? Regardless, it might have been my fault. It might have been the travel, but that dog right there set the mark to what made Gone Hard Kennels what we are. If I
Right.
can put down a bitch like that because I don't want to leave her, everybody else want to take her now. Remember, you got all hands on deck trying to get her. I'll take her. I'll get rid of her for you. I'll do this. I'll do that. You know what I'm saying? My brother, he mad because he know what I'm getting ready to do. And I'm having to explain to him, you know that she wasn't ready, but you see what she got. I understand that. I said, I told my brother, I can't leave her here with these guys, or you're going to see they're going to take her, and they're going to take her, and they're going to do all the wrong things with her. You know what I mean? If I don't want her, they ain't getting it. And I put her down. And that set the standard for every other dog on my damn yard. If I can put a bad bitch down like that, knowing what her fault, but it's the fact that I'm not selling for nothing less. If I can put her down, then the rest of you motherfuckers ain't got no chance. You got to be able to stand up and hold up to your own. If you don't, I don't take no mercy in none of that. That's what made our yard hard. We had good dogs that had to go on good dogs, and only the better ones go. Once you go down, that means your career over on Going Hard, y'all. I mean, to me, once you go down, you're gonna always the possibilities. I might as well be game testing your ass, right? Once you go down,
Right.
you might as well leave them down there, game test them. Why save them? And that was my philosophy. And I seen, dogs that could probably go other places and win. They wasn't serving the purpose because we wasn't trying to,
See,
you know,
the reason I go with uh I'm getting that feedback. Is it okay, Mr.
Okay, I muted Twin too, so you can it won't be no feedback. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. The reason I'm going with Psycho with Buck Rogers, and even because Buck Rogers, he was another one, the controversy breedings out of the Mayday cross with the Stone City situation. But we came up on a dog named Psycho. He's a Mayday dog. Mo can tell you more about the paper, so I'm only going to tell you about the dog. Now, with the killers we got on the yard, we bring this dog in. He don't have much talent going against dogs like Buck Rogers. But what he did have was that Mayday crazy look. That look that once he was in it, he was in it. And what make me love him so much is I seen a dog go 3 hours and 17 minutes, man. Non-stop. Non-stop. We talk about this because it was actually one of our greatest matches. But that's the first dog that somebody actually took us to the limit, to where, do we really know what a good bulldog look like? And considering that by this time, I think we got about 24 wins under our belt, because we went on a roll. And Psycho was just one of them, the new ones coming into the scene, and we just thought we were just gonna jump right out there and let's see what he do, and we'll take it from there. And that was his first time out, going into two-time winner, going for going for his championship. The bad thing about it is the people that we went into, we didn't know who they were until we got there, and we knew them. And they was basically, like he always said, you know, these my friends. You know, I can share my keep with them. You know, that's how you're supposed to do with your boys. But your boys are hooked up with some other people. They telling them about us, and they use our own keep against us. The thing that would, you know, made Psycho so smart is for that little time period that we did have Psycho and that aggression he had, we could play with him. I used to take him out and play with this dog, and almost had him more like a house dog, to where you could tell him he was just smart, very, very, very smart. And believe it or not, at that 3 hours and 17 minutes, man, that smartness in that dog is what won us that win that night, because he never stopped listening. He would, instead of looking at Mo right there with him, that dog would hear me and do one of them kind of looks, you know what I mean, and just go nuts. And I always felt a closer relationship with him, because where I didn't have that much relationship with hands-on, because basically being the second, I was always in that last week of keep. I'm the one that they get a chance to know, because I'm the one that's going to finish the last week with them. And my way of handling them is a little different the way Mo did, because at that last week, we taking them all the way to their peak, and then we're going to work them back down. So all the training and all that other stuff, it's always there. So I always dealt with the excitement, the aggression. We're going to run this 10 miles, and we're going to put it all on the table, fellas. But with this one, Psycho, I actually had a chance to, before we got into all of that, to bring him up almost like a house dog. And we had this relationship. So he was always going to be my pick of all the great ones we had over Brat and all of them. That one right there, he showed me what going hard was really like, because he went hard and he was on a good dog. I'm telling you, it was only one scratch in that whole match, and that was us to win. That was it. One scratch. That was us. We had to make that scratch to win. It wasn't like with courtesy and none of that. They didn't scratch, and the only way we could win, because we made that part of the rules. That's part of all our fights. We had to scratch to win, regardless of the outcome. And that night, that outcome was on the table. And believe it or not, you know, that, you know, when you got to make that final scratch, and you say, all right, Psycho, get him, boy. I mean, you talk about a dog coming out that corner just like he started.
Right.
Shocked the house. You know what I'm saying? But then, you know, I never forgot that. I mean, he didn't make it home. But I can tell you what, I know what a going hard dog's supposed to look like, because I had one. I mean, and he was that dog for me. He wasn't quick, because most of the going hard dogs, we very seldom made it to an hour. And that's over, what, almost 30, 40 fights. That's the only one that we ever went that long. And outside of that, the next shortest one was 2-something with a female named Dusty. But everything else was under an hour, or at least hour 10, 15. But that's the first time I ever seen one of our dogs really have to go into deep waters. And our conditioning would work in deep waters if we was ever forced to it, because that's the only time I've ever seen anybody push it that far. And it worked.
Right. And who would you? Oh, go ahead, brother.
No, I was just saying that's what made him my favorite.
Right. And who would you y'all say was the best competition you went into?
Legion of Doom. When I say the best, is one of them reasons why this is going hard. You know, this is twin one. Now, Mo, he might have a different opinion, but the reason I say the Legion of Doom, not because they were our first. You know, for the people who don't know who the Legion of Doom, just look at the great Dolomite, the great Grand Champion Dolomite, Grand Champion Duke, Grand Champion Luther. the kennel speaks for itself. And when you got a chance to go into them being a newbie and just having the opportunity of them to even accepting you, like who are we worthy enough to go into anything that they have? But because I guess we raised enough noise, they gave the young boys a chance. And because of that chance and that big old show, we got a chance to show our behinds and come home with best in show. You know, that just changed the mark for us, because then we came, you know, we were something to talk about at that point. But that's the biggest name. Now we went into some big names also, but nobody to me bigger than that. You can't get bigger than the Legion of Doom in that time period, because they were the smashers.
Okay. Let me go to Mo on this question here. Who was the best dog in your opinion that y'all faced? I don't know why I see so much feedback. Best dog y'all faced, Mo.
Champion Tommy Boy. The reason why I would call her the best dog I faced, because, you know, I know what Red Ace was. So I would have to say, give her the credit due to Grand Champion Ace. But the other great dog that I think the best dog I ever been into was the 3 hours and 17 minutes dog. A double bred gator dog. Dog off of Gator and Lumpy. He was the best. As far as male wise. You know, as far as going into, I would have to say those two dogs there. Because Brat was nothing to play with. Brat was like Tommy Boy. Pretty Mama, you have to understand, Pretty Mama was a dog that stole the limelight from Brat, because Brat is always the smaller dog, and when you put Brat out there, Brat gonna walk through shit. Brat is May. She's not Mayday. She's not Barracuda. She ain't none of them. She more like, you know, she's like May. That's the only dog that I can compare Brat to. Brat was like Red Ace. Now you got Red Ace, who I'm pretty sure if I could have flew her to Puerto Rico and put Brat on Tommy, we'd probably been out there in like 10 minutes. I'm talking about 4-time winner who was whooping dogs under 22 minutes. Yet you got these little bitch coming here and smash you like Red Ace did when she didn't want to go. So I would have to say, again, I'm going with the 2 hour, 3 hours and 17 minute dog. I liked the Gator dog. It showed me what we had, you know, as far as our keep, because now we're going against our own keep with a good dog. And you know, I know about that dog because I know what that dog was as a puppy. Had a lot to do with that dog coming in town from where it came from. All the way down to the point that dog Littermate, same dog Littermate was bred to May to, and that's the same dog who also produced a grand champion and a champion. That dog Littermate's sister did all that. So I would have to say those were the two best. Like Mike, I have to give credit to Tommy Boy and that little Gator man. Everybody else, you know, I went into Crossroad. You know, they had Lock and Load was pretty good, but us only because he took a big. We got a big shot. So you know, that's my quickest loss I've ever had. You know, other than that, you know, we dominate. I mean, you knew we were going to win right off the top, because our pace is nothing that you can contend with. I don't care how good you was. I'm not knocking them, and I'm not knocking them. And you know, when it gets bad, when you have to put out weight and you can't use your name. You know what I mean? We were running in the shows where guys were literally getting upset because, you know, people was thinking that they were getting cheated because going hard was there. But we was only putting out weight. You know what I'm saying? If we couldn't put out our name, we had to put out our weight. So you don't need to know. Because if we tell you, we ain't gonna get the show.
Right.
That's probably how we ended up in that 3 hour and 17-minute match, because during that time, that's the best. That was the only way we were getting shows. That's why we was traveling in so many places, because we don't go where the money at or where the show is. You know what I mean? We weren't local boys. We didn't stay at home. We didn't have a private circle. You know, we got out and we went where it was called upon to go. So I liked it. A lot of the good kennels, I liked it. I think here's my I think about them. Well, how big is your kennel? Doesn't have nothing to do with me having to deal with only one dog. You know what I mean? My dog ain't there to read no pamphlet or no manuals about who he get ready to face. So I would have to say it's not the kennel that you go into more than it is the dog, and I think it's more of your dog because a lot of these guys that we did beat, you know, I say some of the younger guys that had better dogs. You know, I think these older kennels, when they lose, they have excuses. You know what I mean? Oh, he was just young. I was just looking at him and taking a look at him. But when you don't got a competitiveness, you know, I give a young guy just as much as respect as I give an older guy because isn't that what Legion of Doom did for me? If Legion of Doom would have had to beat me, then that would have been like Legion of Doom. They didn't beat nobody, but because we beat Legion of Doom, you see what I'm saying? The conversation wasn't the fact that Legion of Doom lost. It was the fact that the twins beat Legion of Doom. You know, even when we lost to Tommy Boy, them guys in Puerto Rico never forgot that dog. Why you think that they know more about that Mayday Stone City Cross? Remember, I am the same guy that went to Puerto Rico and showed them what I was using. Yeah, I bred that same dog right there. I bred her to Mayday. Now, do you think some Puerto Ricans don't remember that bitch? Knowing the brat was off of her? Oh, the way brat was killing shit? You think them Puerto Ricans did not know that? They knew exactly who brat was. You see what I'm saying? Remember, it was Jesse and them. That's why I came back with Little Buck, a dog off of Yellow Buck and Champion Miss Nico. When I left Port the Island, I left with a dog off of Yellow Buck and Champion Miss Nico. When I bred that bitch, I bred her to a daughter to little off of Little Mayday, Brat's brother. And that's where the Mayday Stone City dogs came from, the very first.
Right. Yes, sir. Um, how prevalent do you guys think? Uh, how prevalent do you guys think paper hanging is in 2022? Excuse me. How prevalent do you think paper hanging was in your day? I should say.
Well, I can me personally, the way I look at it was one of them situations where on the business side of when we did things, I didn't really get into the paper part of it. But what I did do, I was always the one who looked at who was fixing to go deal with papers with. So it was my job to make sure that anytime we dealt with papers, that the person we was dealing with was, you know, somebody you could you count on. Now remember, we went from Vietnam to Wild Side. I mean, we did a lot of breedings with a lot of different people, but every time that we did it, I knew what type of dog, who the dog we was going into, what it was supposed to look like, and what the papers was supposed to look like. So when the time we ever made those breedings, we knew what we was expecting to get out of what we was fixing to do. Now, some people don't do their homework when it comes down to things like that, which I always put that on the camp itself. Because in this camp here, we all have, between us, we have specific jobs. It's his job to control what happens inside the walls. My job to control what goes on before we get in them corners and everything prior to that situation going on, all the way down to flight arrangements and making sure that we going and picking up the right breeding with the right dog and we getting back the right papers. So I put a lot of that on doing your homework and knowing what you're fixing to do. But we never went and did anything that we didn't see.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I got another question. I'm gonna go right back to you, Mike, and then go to Mo after this. What is in your opinion, what is the most important attribute for a bulldog?
I think the biggest attribute dealing with these things here is, well, it's all about preference too, because we kind of know what we was looking for. The biggest attribute was always going to be the ability and the gameness. And when gameness was something, you know, we eventually had to put to the test. And, you know, when you had our kind of yard, it was hard to really see how game stuff was because we never looked to be pushing nothing to that point. We always look to, you know, we're looking for destroyers. So ability and mouth had a whole lot to do with it. Gameness, you never really know until you put yourself in that situation. But
Right.
that shows you how much attention you pay towards the mouth and the ability. Keeping that thought in mind, you know, like I was saying in the paper situation, I've always believed that likeness brings likeness. You know what I'm saying? And there's not a dog that I think we've ever bred to that we didn't see. So that's why, back to the question you asked me about the paper hanging part of it. I've never been a fan of paper hanging. And, you know, it's always been like around throughout the years. But again, that's like somebody handing you a birth certificate and you not knowing who the mama and the daddy is. But you're looking at the product and you don't see the mama and the daddy in that product at all. But I'm gonna still take that product. You know, thank God for DNA, right? You know, so paper hanging is one of them things, man, that at some point it can be dealt with. You know, when you talk about Maurice Carver and some of the older guys who did that, you know, some people don't understand it. Sometimes these guys did things like that to protect themselves. It's not always a bad thing because sometimes people just don't know what you're doing. But again, we from a day and age that we didn't find ourselves just overlooking papers. We wanted to keep everything the way it was supposed to be. Even when it came down to when we had to deal with dogs that we had to end up sending away with papers. You know, we just didn't get into that part of the business. For the ones who have reasons to do that, you know, I put that on a whole lot of the breeders because sometimes they have reasons for doing that. I'm just not a fan of it. And moving forward, that's what my job was, to prevent us from having to deal with that type of situation. Because again, we never bred anything that we didn't see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me go to Twin 2 on that question.
What's the question again?
The question was. Hold on, let me put you on mute. The question was, what do you feel is the most important attribute for a bulldog to have?
Well, I believe it's gameness. And the reason why I believe it's gameness is because I feed the yard. When you feed the yard, you know, everybody else got a certain outlook on what they see, but they don't come in contact with the dogs that the person is feeding them. And I don't care how good you are, you're going to get game checked. And if you don't get game checked, if I can't game check you on the yard, then guess what? I'm gonna put you out there in the grass until somebody prove me different. And if can't nobody prove me different, then that means you're gonna be a champion that can't be tested. But to me, I think gameness comes in every part of the dogs who can't make it. What about those dogs on my yard that that didn't? Once you go down, you're down. You don't have a career. So that means your game is being tested because there's no other way you're going to make it back to that chain. And it's going to be thumbs up or thumbs down. Those dogs that make it back to the chain, to me, have more value than the dogs that still have to go out on the circuit and win. You know what I mean? Because they got to go out there and prove their worth when the dogs that actually lost and don't have that chance to glory because they'll never have it on my yard. You know, they still have a standard that's well enough into them that I still have to go out there and feed and take care of them every day. You know what I mean? They're not the match dogs. They're not even the stud dogs. You know, we don't know what actually we do with them. Sometimes we'll sell them, but sometimes they'll just sit there on our chains until we decide what we want to do with them. But they earn a right to be on that chain. As long as they're on my yard, they're going to be taken care of like they belong to be there because they earn their right. You know, there's not a cur on my yard. I've never had a cur stay on my yard. I never accepted a dog quitting. I'm going to make her better than them all. Remember them standards I set forth for that red ace dog that I ended up leaving in Puerto Rico? And that one, I mean, I did not back off of that. I didn't give a damn how good you were. Not at all. If you went down, then you could never be matched on my yard. And once you went down, you could not make it back to that chain until you showed me you was game and worthy enough to be on my yard. So that was my stand all, call all. You didn't hear me say too much about ability. You didn't hear me say too much about, the genetics. You heard me speak completely about the game of the dogs because don't none of that shit matter if that dog ain't game. You can brag about how tough and rough he is, but how tough and rough are they ass when there's something that's just as tough and rough to stand in there with you and make you show that game. You see, I went that 3 hours and 17 minutes in a great show. To actually go through that, you would have to be in there to see the pace of it. This thing never slowed down. I've seen long matches, but I've never seen a match that went like this. So I would have to give these dogs all the credit in the world that they proved a big point to me. Gameness is everything. Now maybe his gameness took him no further than 3 hours and 17. The dog that did quit, he did quit because he really couldn't really. He was in a bad situation anyway. He quit because he couldn't make the count. It's the difference. He wasn't standing on all fours. That he didn't do. Right? He didn't make the count. But again, is that his limit? I'll take a dog's limit for whatever it's worth. But it's one thing to not beat the count. But there's another thing to be standing there knowing that you could have took a chance on beating the clock. That's occurring. I don't care. That can happen in 2 minutes. That can happen in 4 hours. If you stand there and you don't move, you're a cur. I don't care if you come back and win 10 more after that. You're gonna always be labeled a cur because a cur is just that. You don't have to stop but one time. It don't change. It's like you get a big old stamp on the forehead. Cur. It don't never go away. You can't wash it off. If you cur on a courtesy scratch, you're still a cur. You won your grand championship, but you didn't courtesy scratch. Look, you could have took your grand champion and walked right out the door with it. But no, you took the chance to say, I'm going to courtesy scratch you. Okay, that's me. You taking that responsibility. Now, all of a sudden, boom, your grand champion, just after winning his grand championship, don't take a courtesy scratch. That is a grand champion cur. Period.
Right.
You can't fix that.
Right.
You can't change that. There's nothing else to that. I can't understand why guys are trying to explain this. There's a champion out there. I think it was Grand Champion Wee Hunt. How can Grand Champion Wee Hunt be a champion just because she lost? She lost the right, but then she wins the next 5. But then y'all call her a grand champion, but y'all just forgot about the first one when you had to pick them up. See, that's a loss. Care how old the dog was. Dog was 16 months old. You still matched the dog. So I don't understand how that one got through the books, and that dog is still able to grand champion when, hey, there's a loss there. But she won the next 5. Does it matter? Where did the rules say that? I mean, I don't know. I'm all in favor of throwing the Cajun rules has changed throughout the years. Those are one of the rules that I would like to see in the Cajun rules, and I think as long as they continue giving us that option, I would always say through the historical rules of me playing, I've always stuck to the rules of scratch to win because I think that's the essence of the game itself. I think courtesy scratches should be thrown out the window. I think all dogs have to scratch where they win. You know, in all situations. If one quit on one end, I used to feel like if this dog quit on this end, I'm giving you one more chance to get your change back. This is how I used to feel about it. You know, I'm the one giving you a chance because if my dog don't go, we're gonna call it a draw. You see what I'm saying? That's a scratch to win. But what if my dog don't go? That means we got two dogs to quit tonight. Don't you think it would be? The game is more respected when you got two curs going home and nobody win compared to you got one that curved, you got the other one who won, he curved, but we got a cur going out to do a winner. That doesn't never fit a real true dog man's mind. If you think it's not bothering me, I'm a true real bulldog man. I really believe if y'all can change all other rules, that's one rule you can change. You use the scratch the win rule on down dog scratches. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
let's change that rule and put it on the end. Make them all scratch. I mean, it's times and times in our time when it was really, you know, really good dogs going on out there. I just felt like I think all of them should have been scratching the win. It's all, you know what I'm saying? In the history of the game, that's what it was all about back then. You know, they could have changed that rule then. I was all in favor of, hey, let's get rid of the scratch the win stuff. You know what I mean? Because you know the people don't want to use it, but it should be used because you know the courtesy scratching thing. It was too many controversy. I've seen too many dogs. They start this courtesy right, and the dog ain't moving. They pick the dog up and walk out. Oh, you started it. Okay, but now the dog ain't. You see the dog standing there now. You don't want him to get counted on the courtesy, so you pick him up and turn around. We just saw that shit. The dog, you know, the dog just quit. You see, I've seen that before. I've seen, you know, winners win and then get right there and not because they couldn't make it, but really stand there and quit. So gameness is definitely the most relevant thing to me in the actual game itself, because that's the only thing that can be literally carried through genetics to really make a true pit bull, the true pit bull dog that it is.
Yes, sir. All right. First, I want to say, man, first and foremost, I want to thank you, brothers, so much for your time and for your story. I want to say that, Brother Twin, too, you know, you haven't been feeling well and stuff like that. And one of the brothers, who was an anonymous donor, he sent you something. You got any words for the people?
Yeah, I want to especially thank everybody for your support, your prayers, you know, the encouragement. I mean, it's a big difference sitting in front of you guys, picking up all that love. You know what I mean? And then knowing that I got to be I'm the one that's in that corner. You know, I just want to let you guys know all that love and support and prayers. I'm scratching the wind. That's just hands down. Your money good. Your money good on this scratcher here, you know. So continue to support, continue the prayers, and remember, guys, I am game as you. So make me gamer by continuing to help me and support with our movement. Thank you.
I
That
want to
way,
thank you, brother. So, go ahead, brother Mike.
Well, me personally, I deal with the fact that, that's my other half right there. And I really, really appreciate the love of everything, because the reason that this show was created, because I watched this show that we created bring new life back to him. You know what I'm saying? When you got a time clock on your life, you kind of start sitting around and you start watching time just fade away, and you was like, you were gonna sit there and you're gonna wait on that time. But I knew my brother had a love for this game, that maybe being that we're not in it anymore, that he could actually enjoy doing what he do because he always wanted to give back. And just having the opportunity just to be on 7-8 Sports is one of them things that was on his bucket list. You know what I'm saying? That I remember we started this about 6 months ago, and I almost watched my twin brothers just sit back and wait on death to come get him, to where now he don't worry about that. He kind of worries more about trying to get it all in before that time clock get to that point to where it might be over for him. But he is what he say he is. He gonna always keep scratching, and I'm gonna always make sure he scratch and put him in that corner to get him to throw him back out there, because I know he going across. And it's just a blessing to be able to sit here and talk to people about it and see the life come to him, because that's what makes a person, you know, feel that there's still a lot that they want to give in life, that they can do something that they love so much that energizes them, to where that is more important than death. Then I put that on everybody to say, find what you love most and cherish the most and do what it do, because we don't never know when that time gonna come. So why wait on it? Keep doing what you do. You know what I mean? You might wind up on 7-8 Sports.
Hey man, I appreciate you, brother, so much, man, for all that y'all do for the Bulldog community. And you know, I'm definitely, you know, rooting and praying for brother Mo. And I hope the brother enjoy himself and live it to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? Live it to the fullest, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what's promised, but live it up to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all ever need anything, don't hesitate to text me, shoot me a call, and 78 gonna be there. You dig?
Thank you, boss.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
appreciate
Right
that.
on, OG.
Yes, sir, man. But any last words for the people, brother Mo?
Hey, man, it's just a privilege and a pleasure, man. Thank y'all for coming out and listening, support the fraternity, and show the love. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I'm gonna put the link once again to Going Hard Kennels Reloaded channel on in the description underneath the video. So make sure y'all go check them out. Send your love and support over there. I want to thank you, brother, so much again for joining us. Hopefully we can do it again. And it's 78 Sports TV, Going Hard Kennels, and we up out of here, man. Deuces.